EA killed a Harry Potter MMO because they didn't believe in the long-term prospects of the IP. Yes, you heard me correctly. In fact, a former EA executive confirmed it just last week. Why would they do such a thing? In an interview with the Real Brandolorian, Kim Salzer, who worked at EA as a director of product marketing from 2000 to 2003, said, quote, "A big one for me, because I was so personally involved in it, and it's such a huge IP that has lived on, is a online, massively multiplayer game for Harry Potter." Close quote. I'm sorry, what? This is something Harry Potter fans have wanted for years. But wait, there's more. Salzer went on to say, quote, "We did all the research. We had the beta built. It was a combination of an offline-online experience where we would actually mail stuff to the kids like prizes and ribbons and stuff like that. Thoroughly researched. Very confident in the success of this." Okay, look, I know EA has a somewhat bad reputation in the video game industry, but they did an okay job, especially with some of the early Harry Potter games. And look, let's be real here. It definitely seems like Salzer and the team behind this had a passion for the project. She even talked about a lot of the research they did with kids who were fans of Harry Potter. It also sounds like they were developing this completely separate from those mainline video games that were released with each new movie, so hopefully they would have been given the time they need to make it successful. Now, when it comes to MMOs, fantasy and MMOs, they just go so well together. I mean, think we've seen Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft. You also have the Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, some of the biggest MMOs are set in a fantasy world. I mean, I really think, scratch that, I know Salzer is spot on here. This would have been an incredible success. So why wouldn't EA, in their infinite wisdom, not jump all over this? Well, Salzer addressed that too. Quote, "But it was killed, for lack of a better term, because EA was going through some changes at the time and they just didn't know or believe that that IP would have a shelf life of longer than a year or two." Close quote. Well, I think it's safe to say you messed that one up, EA. Of course, hindsight is everything, but now, looking back, we can all see this IP has had incredible staying power. Think about all the movies, all the books, all the stage play. I mean, there's a theme park for Harry Potter. Huge, huge staying power. EA really missed a big opportunity here. Now, would EA have been able to deliver a top-notch experience? I think that's another question. Of course, Salzer is going to talk very positively about the work that she and her team did, but it does sound like they were pretty early in this. And who knows how these things go as they move forward, as they get closer to the finish line, as they actually start happening. Would everything have fell into place for this to be a great MMO? I have no idea. I've actually already seen quite a few comments from people talking about how they are glad this didn't happen because EA would have just screwed it up. So, I mean, that is certainly a possibility as well. Perhaps the biggest question, though, is there still a chance this could happen in the future? Well, we all know that Avalanche is working on Hogwarts Legacy, an action RPG, not an MMO, an action RPG set in the Wizarding world, and this game is scheduled to release in 2022. But as someone who has been covering that game extensively, I can't tell you how many times in the comments I've had people say, "I want an MMO, why is it not an MMO?" In fact, I would say there are a fair number of people out there who are kind of upset that it's an action RPG and not an MMO. Now, me personally, I'm not one of them. I'm super pumped about the action RPG, but that still doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to see an MMO set in the Wizarding world at some point in the future. You know, as excited as I am for Hogwarts Legacy, I can't lie. I would still love to see an experience that's set in a more vast world that's kind of a living, breathing world where you can team up with friends and it's just, there's always something to do. I mean, I just think about tackling a big boss together with a group of friends or going through a raid-like activity with several different friends. All that sounds awesome to me. And honestly, I've never really been an MMO guy. Destiny kind of changed my experience on that a little bit because I got into Destiny because I enjoy first-person shooters and thought, hey, this might be kind of cool, this sort of looter mechanic. Honestly, I just didn't know how much I would enjoy that type of game where you're grinding for new armor or grinding for new weapons and usually doing it with a group of friends. Seriously, I was almost exclusively a single-player gamer, but something about Destiny just hooked me, and I can honestly say that I made friends through playing the Destiny video game that I still talk to in real life. Destiny really helped me to see just how incredible those experiences can be when you're working with a group of people to accomplish these just seemingly insurmountable tasks. And honestly, I think the Wizarding world would be an absolutely perfect setting for an MMO. And it would be incredibly successful if done right. Okay, let's have a little fun here. Just think about all the insane possibilities. Imagine that you actually go to school at Hogwarts, or who knows? If they want to go really big, you could go to any Wizarding World school. But let's even say they just keep it with Hogwarts. You go to Hogwarts for 7 years, and then after that, you pick a career. You can go about that career. I mean, just think about all the amazing Wizarding World careers out there. Obviously, they couldn't include everything, but even you can include like a handful, 5 or 6 of the most adventurous Wizarding World careers. That is just a game, honestly, that I want to play. Of course, it would not be EA working on this, as they no longer control the IP when it comes to video games. Now it's all under the direction of WB and Portkey Games. Now, when you think about Portkey Games, this label was created specifically for Harry Potter video games. Now, I don't think you go to the trouble of creating a label if you're only planning a couple of games off this. So perhaps we haven't heard the end of this. Perhaps there is still a chance that we could see a Harry Potter MMO at some point in the future. Again, I don't think you go to the trouble of creating and setting up this label if you're only going to release a handful of games and then call it a day. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Would you like to see a Harry Potter or just a Wizarding World MMO? And if so, what would you like to see in it? If you found my channel here for the first time, we have a ton of Harry Potter video game content here. In fact, if you want to catch up on all the latest Hogwarts Legacy news, then check out the playlist on the left side of your screen. And if you'd rather sit back, relax, and enjoy some old school Harry Potter Let's Plays, then check out the playlist on the right side of your screen. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.